All right, good morning, Water's Edge. Come on in, find a chair. Come on in, find a seat today. It's good to see you all. Those of you that are like, oh man, it's chilly today, it's cold today, let me just remind you, in a handful of months, we're all going to be breaking out shorts because of how warm it is when it's the same temperature. All right, let's bring there we go, perfect. Okay, let me get this up. We just got a handful of announcements here. We actually have a lot of announcements, but the good news is we've got announcements on the back over there. So if today you're like, oh, I want to know what's going on, stand in front of one of those TVs for a couple minutes and just read through them. Again, I'm going to have some of those in the Tuesday email as well. I'm just going to be highlighting things. So if you're like, hey, I don't know what the Tuesday email is, come find me after church, give me your email address, and I'll put you in our weekly email of stuff, okay? I do encourage you, though, that just because we've got a new coffee bar set up over there with announcements, that's not an invitation to be loud hanging out during my sermon. Does that sound good? All right? I'm inviting you to grab a cup of coffee and come sit with us. Enjoy it over here. All right. Next week, we're going to have a potluck Sunday. And Johanna's going to have a sign-up on the sign-up sheets that are now over there under that TV. And if you want to bring a taco soup, or I think she's got some sides, stuff like that, go ahead and bring it. Even if you don't bring it, we want you to come and eat. But the encouragement is that we have enough people bringing stuff so that we have enough to feed everybody. So next week, Potluck Sunday, which is the third Sunday of every week or every month. First one is one that we provide. All right, youth group this Wednesday is going to be for 13 and older at the coffee house next door, 6:30. I want to highlight that we started the Power to Parent classes 1 and 2 this week, this previous week. But if you're like, oh man, I actually really wanted to come to that, I forgot about it, please come. I know that on our calendar back there it says 6:15, but we're going to start it at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. So 6 o'clock on Tuesday, if you want a quick, hey, what happened in the first one, I'll let you know around 5:45. Just give you a quick update, and then we'll roll right into session 2. So please come 6 p.m. Tuesday, and then Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. There'll also be one then too. So those with kids, you can split up. One of you come on Tuesday, one come on Saturday. New guests, after church today, we're going to invite you to grab a cup of coffee, and then just come up here. You're going to find me and Eli, and the two of us are going to just do a little tour of the church and show you a little bit of what's going on with the church, answer any questions that you have as far as what our church is about, what we're doing, how we're getting involved in everything here in this community. Oh, evidently I'm not supposed to swing that. Okay, while I re-update this, what I'm going to ask is, Yvette, if you could just stand up. She had asked me this week, she said, hey, can I just say thanks to the church and just give an update? A number of you guys have been praying over her. Yvette, give us a little update. power of prayer. Yeah, it's one of those things, hey? Even when we're not looking for it, even when we're like, man, God, where are you? Man, he can send anybody. And a lot of times when we judge a book by its cover and we're like, I don't know how God's going to use them. God can use any one of us, so don't discount how he might use you, to just remind you that you are loved, that you are worthy, that you are cherished, that he delights in you. All right, I'm going to have everybody stand on up. We're going to read a passage together, and then we're going to get into some worship via song. I encourage you to join me in reading this from Galatians 4. What I am saying is that as long as an heir is underage, he is no different from a slave, although he owns the whole estate. The heir is subject to guardians and trustees until the time set by his father. So also, when we were underage, we were in slavery under the elemental spiritual forces of the world. But when the set time had fully come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption to sonship. Because you are his sons, God sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, the Spirit who calls out, Abba, Father. So you are no longer a slave, but God's child. And since you are his child, God has also made you an heir. Heavenly Father, I just ask that you would give us eyes to see, give us ears to hear, give us a heart that is soft to receive your word today. God, I ask that you would bring encouragement, that you'd bring hope, that you'd bring joy, you'd bring affirmation, that you'd give us just a taste of your presence, God, that we would just taste and see that you are good, and that taste would just give us a deeper hunger. God, you are good, and you are faithful, you are holy. God, we worship you today.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that stop, never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Sing it out. That is who you are. Yes, yes, that is who you are. And that is who you are. 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 We're gonna do a new song today. This is how the chorus goes. And I give you my worship. You still deserve it. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of my song. And I'm gonna sing till my heart starts changing. Well, I'm gonna worship till I mean every word. 'Cause the way that I feel and the fear that I'm facing doesn't change who you are or what you deserve. I give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy of my song. Sing, I'm gonna live, and I'm gonna live like my King is risen. Gonna preach to my soul deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy. And when I cried out in the night, you were worthy. And when I could not see the light, you were worthy. And though my faith is not yet sight, you're still worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. Oh, in the blessing, in the pain, you are worthy. Whether you say yes or no way, you are worthy. And through it all, I choose to say, you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. Oh, and when I finally see your face, I'll cry worthy. And when you wipe these tears away, I'll cry worthy. And above every other name, you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. Never stop singing your praise. Never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. Oh, I give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy. Jesus, you're worthy of my song. Sing that one more time. I give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy of my song. sing out hallelujah. We will cry out hallelujah. Oh, we'll sing out hallelujah. We will cry out hallelujah.
Good morning. My name's Allie, if you don't know me. Benny asked me this week to get up and share a little bit, and it's been pretty awesome this week. How many of you have seen a rainbow in the sky this week? How many of you have seen more than one? Yeah, it's so cool. And quick question for you, you can just shout out at me. When you see a rainbow in the sky like that, what do you think of? Thank you. That's what I was going for, because even before Benny asked me, I've been just thinking and reading and studying on God's promises and what he says for us. It started a few weeks ago when Benny preached on Joseph and the promises that God gave Joseph. And and one of the reflections was the challenge to us to see God's promises in our lives and see God's faithfulness. And I sat there thinking, do I really know what God's promises are for me? Like, do I really know truly what God promises versus, because I think society throws a lot of stuff at us, and often it can be confusing to determine, what we hope God will do for us versus what God really promises that he will do for us. And so since that week, I've been really studying what the Bible says and what God promises us in the Bible. So I'm just going to go through just real fast a few of them that I have. For example, in Isaiah 40, he promises to strengthen us and to help us. In Joshua 1, he promises that he will be with us wherever we go. In James 4, he promises that if we draw near to him, then he will draw near to us. In Matthew 28, he promises to always be with us. In Isaiah 58, he promises to guide us continually. And in 1 Corinthians 15, he promises that our labor is not in vain. In Proverbs 3, he promises that if we trust the Lord, then he will make straight our paths. In the first chapter of James, he promises that if we ask, he will give us wisdom. In Isaiah 40, he promises that his word will stand forever. In Jeremiah 32, he promises that nothing is too hard for him. And in 1 John 1, he promises that if we confess our sins, then he will forgive our sins. In 1 Corinthians 10, he promises that he will not let us be tempted beyond our ability and that he will provide a way to escape temptation. In Proverbs 91, he promises that he will be a refuge for us. And in Lamentations 3, he promises that his love never ceases and that his mercies are new every morning. In Matthew 11, he promises that if we come to him with our burdens, then he will give us rest. And over and over and over again, he promises to be faithful. His word offers us so many promises, and they're promises that we can hold on to when things get hard, and they're promises that can encourage us when it feels like there's no hope. He doesn't promise that this life will be easy or without hardship, but he offers so many promises that we can hold on to when it is hard. So my challenge for you this week is to really search the word yourself and find his promises there, and then store them up in your heart so that when it's hard and when you have nothing else, you have his promises. So I'm going to pray right now over our service here today, and then after that, we're going to take this time to break up into groups with the people around us. and just pray together. If you're new here and it makes you uncomfortable to pray out loud with strangers, then just allow yourself to be prayed for today. So God, we just invite you here today. We ask you that your presence would fill this space, that you would remind us of your promises, and that we would be able to carry them in our hearts so that we don't ever lose hope. And God, we just ask that you would move among us. In Jesus' name, amen.
an army rising up. There's an army rising up. There's an army rising up. I can see it rising. There's an army rising up. I can see it rising. There's an army rising up. There's an army rising up to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain, to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain, to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain, to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. There's power in the name, Jesus, sometimes on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. And my story isn't over, my story's just begun. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Yeah, failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Arrival's not the end game, the journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. And failure's never final when the Father's in the room. And failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh,
All right, this is your 1-minute warning. 4 and under can head on downstairs for kids' church. 4 and under head downstairs. 5 and up are going to stay upstairs today. 5 and up, stay upstairs. 4 and under, head on down. Everybody else, you've got 1 minute. All right. 4 and under can head on downstairs. 5 and up, we'll stay up here. We got everybody's attention. Mostly good. All right, so here's the thing is we've gone through Genesis. We're in Exodus right now. We had talked a little bit about how in Hebrew, Exodus means book of names. So if you see any on the title thing say book of names, I just like it better than Exodus for a few different reasons. I don't know about you, but every time that I used to read Exodus, and this part in particular, I had questions. I had like uncomfortableness that I was like, I don't love some of this. Like here's some of them, like, man, did Pharaoh want slave labor or genocide? You know, what did the burning bush represent and why did God use that as a sign? What made Moses finally agree to go? How did Zipporah save Moses again? Like, here's another one. Why did God almost kill Moses, right? How many of you are like, wait, I don't know what you're talking about? Because it's like this one little verse. It says, obscure passage. It's like, okay, Moses has this whole sign thing, and he's going down to Egypt, and God almost kills him. We'll talk about it today, right? Sometimes we read through these passages, and we skip the parts that are uncomfortable, either one, or two, we're like, I don't know, God's sovereign, but it's still uncomfortable, so I'm moving on, right? Yes? Oh, I'm the only one that did that. Okay, I used to do that all the time. Okay, Genesis, we looked at a bunch of chiasms. Chiasms are these patterns that these Hebrew writers wrote, and we're going to break one down today. I know that it's still kind of fuzzy. I've given you a bunch of examples, but I'm going to break down how you get to that example today, and hopefully it's going to answer some of our questions. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Let me start off with some context, okay? So you got this burning bush. I know you can't read it all. That's okay. Moses had left Egypt not fully knowing what his identity was. Was he a prince, right? Was he Egyptian? Was he Israelite? Was he a slave son, right? Do you remember when he was talking about it? He was struggling, and like at 40 years old, he steps up and he kills the Egyptian guy, and then the Israelites are like, what, are you going to kill us too? And so like he's wrestling with this, and then he runs up, and Zipporah, right, who later becomes his wife, she's like, oh, this Egyptian man, remember this Ish? We talked about that, another one, right? This Egyptian man, because he looked like an Egyptian, right? So he struggled with that, right? Zipporah first judged him by his outer looks. Today we had a story about somebody judging somebody by the outer looks, but we really don't know what's going on the inside, right? After 40 years of shepherding and becoming a husband and a father, he encounters this burning bush in the desert that wouldn't burn up. Right? Which is this fascinating sign, because like of all the signs that you could pick, God's like, I know, a burning bush in a desert that doesn't burn. Like it just keeps burning. Isn't that awesome? Like he could have picked all the magic tricks in the world. Why that one? Right? Usually because his signs actually mean something. So we're going to look at that too. Right? So God starts talking to him, says, hey, take off your sandals. And it's not just about a respect thing, although it's partly that. He wants nothing between him and the dirt he's standing on, so there's an intimacy there as he starts talking. Moses wants nothing to do with going back to Egypt, right? So there's like time and time again, like, oh no, I can't speak. Oh no, who am I? Oh no, what? And God's like, let me give you an answer. Let me give you an answer. And finally he's like, okay, I ran out of my like reasons why I can't go down to Egypt, so can you just pick somebody else? Right? Like, come on. Like, I don't know. Anyways, so we're going to look at that a little bit too, right? God keeps persisting. God reveals himself as the God of Moses' fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He also reveals himself as Yahweh, Yod-Heh, Vav-Heh, as a father who hears, who sees, and responds with empathy. We talked about that a little bit last week, and then Moses finally agrees to go. Okay, so this is the context coming into the chiasm that we're going to talk about today, okay? Let's just jump into it. All right, what happens right here with the burning bush, right? At the very end, then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, what about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he'll be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. You will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if your mouth and as if you were God to him. But take this staff in your hand so you can perform the signs with it. Again, we talked about those signs. We'll come back to this passage a little bit later. Okay, I'm going to break it down a little bit. So chiasm in the book of names. So Exodus 3 on one side, Exodus 4 on the other side. We're going to be bouncing back and forth between 3 and 4, a little bit into 2 today. So if you have your Bible with you, you can kind of be bouncing with me. But let me read Exodus 3, 1 through 3, and then Exodus 4:18, and then we're going to look at some of the similarities. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I'll go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. Okay, Exodus 4:18. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, let me return to my own people in Egypt to see if any of them are still alive. Okay, you're like, Benny, that kind of matches but kind of doesn't. Let's break it up a little bit. First part. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian, led the flock to the far side of the wilderness of Horeb, the mountain of God. 18, then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law. All right, can you guys see this right here? So you got the burning bush in the middle, where you got essentially a chapter's worth of material. Right before that was Moses left Jethro with his father's sheep and went to the mountain of God. Right afterwards, Moses left the mountain of God and went back to the sheep with his father Jethro. Does that make sense? So sometimes when you look at the patterns, it's going to be the exact same pattern. Sometimes it's going to be like, well, it's in inverse, right? So instead of walking to the mountain, he's walking from the mountain. We all clear with that? You're like, okay, Benny, I see that there is a connection. Good. I'm going to fly today because I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Okay, the very next verse. So Moses thought, I will go over and see. The very next thing in Exodus 14. Let me return to my own people in Egypt and see. Okay, so now we've got Moses, left Jethro with father's sheep, went to the mountain of God. I'm going to go and see. Then you got the burning bush. Then Moses left the mountain of God. So he went to Jethro and said, I'm going to go and see to his father Jethro. Okay? So what is the burning bush? You guys know? Before we go to the next slide. Bush on fire. Hey, there it is. I like it, Caleb. You know, it's kind of one. Okay, let's look at it this way. I got the blue of the first one, second one, then the darker blue, darker blue. Can you see that, or is that too small? So Moses thought, I'll go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. Let me return to my own people in Egypt to see if any of them are still alive. Is that what you have picked of this is why he used this? No. Right, so when you start looking at some of these chiasms, it gives us answers to things that you're like, oh, that's kind of weird why we do that. But think about this for a second. He's looking at this thing. He's like, this bush should be gone. It is consumed in fires, and yet it's still there. And it's fascinating. And as he's thinking about it, and he goes to Jethro, he puts 2 and 2 together and says, you know what? When I left 40 years ago, they were in slavery, right? And was it slavery just to build the pyramids? No. The answer is no to that, by the way. They weren't just building pyramids and trying to have a bunch of slave labor, right? Like if you think about majority of the slave labor that's in the world today, most of that is not because I just want to kill them all. It's mostly, hey, you know what? We want to build this thing and I want free labor, right? Does that make sense? Yet if it was just free labor that he was looking for, do you think Pharaoh would have said, man, they've become like pests in the land? You know, we need to make sure that they don't join. Let's kill all of the males, right? If you're going to do slave labor, are you going to get rid of all of your males for 40 years? Like, no, right? Like, those are the ones you actually want to put in the workforce. Those are the ones that are going to do the hard labor, right? Does that make sense? So his actual desire is genocide. It's not actually, hey, you know what, I want a bunch of hard workers that I don't have to pay, right? And so these people have been living in a spot for decades where they've been in this spot where they essentially feel like they've been on fire, but they can't be consumed. Every time that they're like, hey, you know what, this is going to work, we're going to put them, we can kill them this way. it says, you know what? They multiplied. The more pressure they put on them, the more they spread out, the more that they had more children, right? You remember that when we were looking at that a couple weeks ago? So there's this weird thing where it's like, he's realizing, wait a second, the Israelites have also been under this immense amount of pressure that should have burned them up by now, but they're still there. I need to go see if they're still alive. Like, okay, Benny, it's a stretch. Well, let me just keep going with some more patterns and see if you guys come to my side or not. One of those other things that we don't catch in English, but even the word burn and alive in Hebrew are chiastically spelled inverse. So like, my name is Benny, B-E-N-N-Y. One would be Benny, and the other would be Y-N-N-E-B. So even in the chiasm, the word that it connects the two are chiastic, which is fantastic. It's crazy. Also, want to shout out to Aleph Beta and that crew because they helped me see some of this stuff in Hebrew because I'm learning it, but I'm not there yet. All right. Let's look at this here. Okay, so during that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of the slavery went up to God. 4:19. Now the Lord had said to Moses and Midian, "Go back to Egypt, for those who wanted to kill you are dead." Okay, do you guys see something that's connection there as we take one step back and one step forward? It's the king of Egypt died, right? So he died earlier, but this is when he finds out that Pharaoh died, right? The one that wanted to kill him is dead. So again, it's in the exact same order. Let's break it out even further, okay? Exodus 2:12. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Exodus 4:22. Then say to Pharaoh, "This is what the Lord says." Now, any of us that read English say, I don't see that connection at all, right? That's me until I was taking this class and I'm like, oh, okay, so there's a word that's used twice, which is ko, in Exodus 4:22. That's also the very next time it's used is the 2:12. So those two, there's a word that they use in Hebrew that actually connects both of those passages. That's nowhere in between them. It's not a commonly used word, but it's used twice there. Okay, so those that are English speakers, which is all of us, let's just skip this one and just trust that, in Hebrew there is a connection there. Okay? So you look this way, that way, the ko, and then this is what God said. All right, next one. Another step back. All right, the next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. Okay? Exodus 4:22 and 23. This is God speaking. He's having Moses share this. Anyways, Israel is my firstborn son, and I told you, let my son go so he may worship me, but you refused to let him go, so I will kill your firstborn son. Okay, let's pause for a second. How many of you are super comfortable with God's response there? How many of you are like, it feels a little bit like an overreaction? How many of you, if you were to think of Moses, right? When he saw the Egyptian guy and the Pharaoh guy fighting, would say, ooh, you know what? Killing the Egyptian guy might be a little bit of an overreaction too. Right? So we have two overreaction stories that kind of feel like, not super comfortable with this, right? I want to just pause and think about it from this sense. I'm a pastor of this church, right? One of the blessings that I get to carry is there's going to be times where my family takes a hit, or my wife takes a hit, or my kids take a hit, and it's my responsibility to respond as a pastor would in those moments. Is that fair? Right? There's also times where my kids need to know me as father and not as pastor. Is that also fair? Right? Like, to give you, this is vivid. Well, I'll try to make it not as vivid. Let's say somebody is torturing my son, right? My firstborn. Am I probably going to respond out of my pastor hat or as my father hat? Right? And there might even be some wild threats in there, but I'm going to make sure they stop torturing my son. Does that make sense? Yeah? Part of what we see in what's going on in this passage is they have known him as God of my fathers, God of my father Abraham, God of my father Jacob and Isaac. I've known him as my God, right? God, he first was a father of Adam. They called Adam the first son, right? The first Adam in the garden. Now, shortly after that, he's out of the garden, and pretty soon, Adam turns from really kind of seeing him as a God, as a father, to as a God. Does that make sense? And it's this God of all the way until this burning bush thing. And part of this, hey, I am that I am. I was with you. I am with you. I will be with you. Right? Some of the actual even verbiage there goes all the way back to the garden, and that's a whole other sermon, but it's fantastic to go to, so go there someday or ask me about it. But he is trying to reveal himself as Father. He's using, hey, this is my firstborn. This nation is like my firstborn child, right? So we had a firstborn that is Adam in the garden, right? Now, later on, we have somebody that we call the second Adam, which is kind of confusing, but we normally call him Jesus, right? So you have one that is of strength, one that is of flesh, and then another one that comes of spirit. Does that make sense? And really the transition, we've talked about this in Genesis, is we have to go from strength to spirit. That's the invitation. Abraham had, Isaac had, Jacob had, Moses had, Joseph had, you have, I have. Is can we go from strength, from flesh, to spirit, right? To walking by faith instead of walking by fear, right? So like this is the transition to make in life, right? And so here we have him saying, actually, you know what? You've known me as the God who said, go before me, right? We talked about that with Abraham, go before me. And you'd have these interactions where they would have this touch point with God, but really God was behind them doing this. And here he's saying, actually, you know what, Moses? I'm going to go before you. I'm going to respond as a father in this situation. And I am going to go, you know what? I gave some promises. We talked about promises. I've been giving your forefathers, your great-grandpa, your grandpa, your dad, I've given them promises for generations. For 400 years, I've been patient. And for 400 years, I've been giving them chance after chance after chance, and ironically, they still have more chances coming. We'll talk about that another week. But here they have these chances, and I have been patient. I've been slow to anger, but you know what? The dad side of me is coming, so you better warn them, right? Go warn them because dad's coming. And I want them to know, hey, this is a father who protects and provides, that I'm going to stand up like a father for you. Does that make sense? Some of that stuff is coming. And so you're like, hey, you know what? This feels like an overreaction from God. He is trying to shift their paradigm from, hey, I'm not just a God, I am your father. And I have all the power in the world, and I am going to protect you. It's time that I take you out of Egypt. Does that make sense? Okay. Is it an overreaction? Maybe. But if there's ever a person that has, in my book, the space to have an overreaction, it's a father with their son or daughter, obviously. You know what? And mother bears too. I'm not going to pick battles. Mothers, you have at it too. It's the same spirit. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Put it in here. Okay, so he looked this way and that way. And then you had the guy say, are you going to kill me like you did the Egyptians? All the way in the end, this is what God said, and he said, I will kill your firstborn. So you've got this death threat that's in both spots, again, in the exact same parallel as you're building out this chiasm. Okay? All right, Exodus 2:12-15. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. The very next thing that happens after that is Moses protects Zipporah, and then there's a wedding. At a lodging place on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. The very next thing that happens is Zipporah protects Moses. Now that we got that in the chiastic structure, I'm sure that it's super clear. Why? Right? You're like, Benny, I'm glad that you've connected them, but I still have no idea what you're talking about. Who's in that boat? Love your honesty. Okay, perfect. Let's put it in the chiasm real quick so we have it here. Look this way, that way. Are you saying you're going to kill me like you did the Egyptians? And Pharaoh sought to kill him. And then Moses protected Zipporah. The king of Egypt died. Moses left Jethro with his father's sheep and went to the mountain of God. Said, I'm going to turn and see this bush. Why is this bush not burning up? We have the burning bush experience. He leaves the mountain of God where his father's sheep went back to Jethro, talks to Jethro, says, hey, I'm going to go and see if my brothers are still alive. And everyone who had wanted to kill me has died. There's a note of that. This is what God said. And he said, I'm going to kill your firstborn. Go tell him I'm coming. Dad's coming. And he sought to kill Moses, and then Zipporah protected him. Okay, so it's like this weird thing, right? It's like all of his life, it's 80 years have come up to this moment at the bush, right? And God meets with him, and he's like, hey, I'm going to use you. And Moses is like, no, not me. I'm going to use you. No, not me. No, I'm going to. Like 5 times, he's like, no, not me. Just pick anybody but me. And God's like, no. It has to be you. Like, it has to be you. You know what? I'm not going to relent. We're going to use you. And then on the way down, he's like, actually, I'm going to kill you. What? Right? Like, I struggled with this for years and years and years. I was like, God, give me eyes to see, because this makes no sense to me. All right. We've talked about Leviticus and Numbers, Deuteronomy. There's a bunch of laws in there, and those laws come back from experiences, right? Moses kind of has an experience that is tied to some of this. There's a few other ones that do too. But kinsmen redeemers and cities of refuge, which has not happened yet historically, but will happen later on in the story. So what I'm going to have is you 3 come on up, and I want you to stand right over here. I'm going to give you an idea, and we're going to walk through some of this, okay? So, Isaiah, you're going to stand right here. You're right here. Jude, I'm going to have you right here. You're not going to actually kill him. You're not actually going to even punch him. But I want you to act like you're going to punch him, and you're going to die. Okay? Go ahead. Perfect. Okay? Okay, so we got one that killed him, right? There's something called a kinsman redeemer, right? A kinsman redeemer back in the Old Testament was somebody that was the closest. Usually it's a father or an uncle. In this case, we're going to say it's a brother, right? We have his actual brother. And the goal here is this. If he killed him, he can flee to a city of refuge. So the city of refuge is all the way over here at the chairs, okay? So if he runs here before Caleb catches up, Isaiah catches up, sorry, he'll be your size in 12 minutes probably, the way your family grows. All right, so anyways, if you get all the way to the city of refuge, he stays there, and he can live there as long as the priest is alive. When that happens, when the priest dies, then you're released from having to stay in that city. You're released from having to avenge your brother's death. But as a kinsman redeemer, you've got a lot of responsibilities. One of them, though, is if somebody kills your brother, then it's your responsibility to kill him before he gets to the cities of refuge. Now, we're going to walk. Okay? You're going to come on over. Go. Okay, so let's say he got him, okay? He's dead. He just got you from behind. So Judah's gone. Okay? Now, the law would look at this and they'd say, okay, it's fair. He killed him. The right person killed him back. Does that make sense? Okay, come on back over here. All right? Let's replay this one more time. Okay? So in this case, you're going to strike him. You're going to die. You're going to go over. You're not going to catch him this time. Okay? Now, is he fine? Yeah. Now, if he steps out of the city of refuge, it's fair game, right? Could be 10 years later, he could still, and actually kind of has the responsibility to still avenge the death. The reason why they had those rules, right, is because, like, hey, you know what? There needs to be a weight and a consequence for our actions. And so they're like, you know what? Think twice before you kill somebody because, you know, it's on you, right? Like, get out of town. So come back over. We're going to do it one more time. Okay? Okay, so you go ahead and kill him. You die. You start going. Hold on, time out. Let's say I'm just a random dude. I saw what had happened. Take 2 steps back. You're too fast. There we go. I look at it and say, there's the city of refuge, and there's Isaiah. You know what? I know what's happening, and I come in and I kill him as a random dude. Okay? Now pause. Do I have the right, do I have the authority to do that? No. I am not the kinsman redeemer. I am not in the right authority to do that. Does that make sense? Now, even in their law, then I would be accountable for that death, even though You're trying to chase him, and I'm just trying to help my friend out. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page. Okay, boys, go ahead and sit back down. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm trying to tell you that God seeking to kill Moses is pretty similar. There's some same things as Pharaoh trying to kill Moses. Okay? We're going to take a look at this. Right here, at a lodging place on the way, Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off her son's foreskin, touched Moses' feet with it. Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me, she said. So the Lord let him alone. Like that was the magic thing to do to make everything okay. Right? Do you guys need clarity on this part or? Okay. Here's one of those things. The Bible, I keep saying the Bible is like this hyperlinked text, right? It's the first one where it's like, again, the burning bush is going to connect to so many other stories. And within stories, it connect to other stories. And it's beautifully well written that, like, it's crazy. Like, if I was to say, hey, you know what? There's somebody laying at the foot of somebody else and saying, hey, you know, having, like, hey, put your covering over me. You know, your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. Who am I talking about? Ruth and Boaz, right? Like there's shades of Ruth and Boaz here. Like as Ruth is doing this, she should probably remember some of these stories. Like it's crazy because like if you think about it, we saw earlier that Zipporah's dad was a priest in Midian, which also means that it wasn't a priest of God Most High, right? You've got her trying to weigh between, do I follow my father and my father's gods, or do I follow this guy and his gods, right? Which is our God. Meanwhile, you've got Moses, all right? Let me take a quick look at this one, and then I'll come back. I'll put them together for you. Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses and said, what about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. Like, of all the things, he keeps saying, no. And he's like, hey, how about your brother, the Levite? Why would he have to, like, specify the Levite brother? Why does he have to specify that? Where did he grow up? He was in Pharaoh's own home, right? Like his whole 40 years of existence, you know who he thinks his brother is? The new Pharaoh, right? So he's sitting in there. He left Egypt not really knowing strongly what his identity was. Does that make sense? And here he is. He's coming down with a word from the Lord to go to Pharaoh, who he grew up with, who was probably like a brother to him. And God's like, hey, your brother, the Levite brother, come on, not that brother, your actual brother. The Levite brother, the Israelite brother, that brother, he's coming out and he's excited to see you. Right? And so here he is thinking on his way, like, I got to figure out which side I'm on, like, which one is my family? And ironically, he's coming down and he's torn between, you know, it's almost like he's hedging his bets, right? Like, okay, there's the Egyptian side and there's the Israelite side, and these guys were slaves, but like, this guy was like my brother, but at least crazy dad who was trying to kill me, he's gone now, so like, I don't have to worry about that. But like, the problem is, as he's going down, it was Zipporah that figures it out and says, actually, hold on a second. I am going to leave my dad. I'm going to leave my religion. I'm going to hold on to you and your God. Your God will be my God, and your people will be my people. And by the way, your people are the Israelites, not the Egyptians. And you know what? The sign of that covenant was the first time there was a flint rock where there was a circumcision that said, hey, this is the sign of the covenant. And you know what? We have not done with it with our kids. And if we go down there to the place where they're circumcised and they say, actually, you know what? You belong to the other team. I can't represent God. It's like Moses is being the dude over here, realizing what's going on and wanting to step in, right? Let me jump back. Moses, when he went and killed the guy, right? The Egyptian guy. At least I always thought that, oh man, Pharaoh's going to hear about that I killed the guy, right? And then that's the reason why he came after to kill me. Now, is that there? Yes, partly that. But I think the weight is actually in the second part of that verse where he says, where the Hebrew's like, what? Who made you Lord over us? Who made you the judge over us? They're saying, you're not the one in authority to take this into your hands. Right? Pharaoh looked at them and said, you weren't the one. You're not the kinsman and redeemer. You're not the one that should have stepped in and killed the Egyptian guy. And I can't have you usurping my authority in my land. You can't be in this role of playing like you're in charge. I'm the one in charge. You're not the one in charge. You can't do that. It becomes a threat, in which case he's like, if you're a threat, I got to take you out. Does that make sense? Here you have Moses who's trying to come down to Egypt to let the people go, but he's still playing both sides. He's still got 1 foot in Egyptian man and 1 foot in Israelite man. And it's his wife that says, actually, you know what? We need to leave my God, the one that I grew up, and we need to leave the Egyptian gods. There is one God, and our family is going to worship him. And you know what? Even if you can't take that step, I'm going to take that step for you on behalf of our family. And it appeases God's anger. He says, okay, now you can represent me because now you're a part of the family. Because it has to be a part of the family in order to walk in the authority of the Father. Now, even with being a part of the family, who is the ultimate kinsman redeemer? It's God, right? Who is the one with the ultimate authority to respond with everything that's going? It's God. And what does God not want? He doesn't want Moses to go out there and out of his insecurities start trying to do it on his own again. Does that make sense? Okay, does that whole passage make a little more sense? You know what? I'm going to keep going. I know it's 11:30, but I'm going to go off slides for a second. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how we've all sinned, right? Everybody has sinned. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. Let me be clear. Every person has sinned. We have all fallen short, yeah? And I made the other point too, right? Like part of my frustration internally with Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm not trying to throw them shade because they have helped so many people get free from a lot of things, is that you start off by saying, hi, my name is Benny, and I'm an alcoholic, right? Which you're reinforcing that as your identity. We're on the same page with that too, right? Those who are here, you get to hear it twice. Maybe we need to hear it twice, right? So you have this thing of when things get tough, you go by what your identity is. And so if you believe that you are an alcoholic, chances are when things get tough, you're going to drink, right? Okay, again, super clear. We have all sinned. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. But if you still think you are primarily a sinner, when things get tough, you are primarily going to respond as a sinner. Does that make sense? Like, I think you need to clearly hear that there are some of us that are still living as hired hands, as slaves to sin, out back, trying to work our way into the Father's home. Do you hear that? A son belongs inside the home. If you live by your identity as a son or a daughter of the living God, you don't have to work your way into a home. You don't have to live by fear. It's not by perfection. It's not by performance. It's by, you know what, it's a position of being, hey, he's my dad. Right? There's verses where Jesus talks about like, hey, you know what, that annoying neighbor that keeps knocking on your door and knocking on your door, eventually the dad's going to get up and give them some food. We take that as, oh man, so I just got to keep praying harder and praying longer, and I got to knock his door down. He says, no, actually, you know what? If you realize you're the son, you're inside, and you have access to all the food in the cupboards right now. You hungry? Go get some food. It's all yours. You already have the inheritance. You already have that as an heir to the dad. But so often we live as slaves to sin instead of sons to a father. And this is the shift that he's trying to do with Egypt. He's saying, hey, you know what? Israel, you think that you guys are snakes because you've been told that you're snakes. But when you see yourself as a staff, when you see yourself as an identity, as a son, pick that thing up and treat it like it is, and it'll become a staff again. You walk by your identity. You look like me. You know what? It'll gobble up all of the lies, all the fears, all the snakes that are in your life because those aren't true. What's true is what I say of you. Does that make sense? He's asking them, he's saying, hey, you know what? You guys have lived under this for decade after decade after decade after decade. It's fascinating when he takes them out of Egypt, and we'll get this another day too, is they see themselves as slaves this whole time. And the terms that God actually uses is, hey, they were an army. That he's bringing the army out, not the slaves out. Because he was seeing them as who they were. It was a different kind of warfare that they were living in. Man, may God give us the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the heart that is soft enough to receive a path into life, a path into sonship and daughtership, where we leave behind being a slave to sin. Me included. God, get us. Reveal it to us. Because there's power and there's authority, right? Like we don't want, like it says in the last days, they'll have a form of godliness but deny his power. We don't want to have a form of looking like God but have nothing to do with what's going on inside the Father's house. Right? There's hope. There's goodness. We have a Father that's not just a God, but is a Father. And that Father wants to protect, wants to provide. Some of you have not had a father in this real fleshly life that has wanted to protect and provide. And I'm sure that grieves his heart greatly. He wants you to have the vulnerability to let him be that for you. He wants to redeem that in you. He wants to protect you. He wants to bring you out of your Egypt, and he wants to bring the Egypt out of you. Right? He wants you to live in the promises. All these things that are happening, he promised 400 years before, hey, I'm going to take you guys out. And it still took a whole lot of years for them to realize his goodness. There was the first Adam and the second Adam. Here we have God saying that he's the first, Israel is the firstborn of many sons. We hear that same statement with Jesus, the firstborn of many sons, walking by the Spirit instead of by the flesh, right? There's that transition that happens. One of those promises is anybody who believes in their heart, confesses with their lips that Jesus is Lord will be saved. Anybody that lacks wisdom, ask him and he'll give it to you in abundance, right? All those promises that Ali was talking about, there's more and more and more. If you're not in your Bible looking for them, then go to your Google and search out God's promises in the Bible and it'll give you all the shortcuts, right? But sometimes we need to remember that he is good and he is for us and he is going to protect, provide. He has gone before. He's with us. He was behind us. If we can't see him, that's more on our eyesight than the belief that he's actually not there, right? Okay, some reflections. Some of you feel like you are in the fire. You need to know that he's refining you. The goal is not to let you be consumed by it, right? One of those things that Ali had said is the promise isn't that you're not going to get burned. The promise isn't that there's not going to be hardship. The promise is he's going to be there with you during it. He's going to bring you through it. It didn't come to stay, it came to pass. Are you a slave to sin trying to earn your way into the Father's house? Or are you a son who belongs inside? May you know him as your protective Father and not just an angry, reactive God. If you're living a life with feet in different lives, he's inviting you to pick your family. Pick carefully. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for your goodness. I thank you for your faithfulness. Oh, God, you are good. God, I thank you that you will move heaven and earth. You'll have signs and wonders to protect us. God, I'm thankful that you redeem us one step at a time. God, I'm thankful that you're patient with us. God, I'm thankful for the forefathers. I'm thankful for Moses, even reluctantly answering the call. You still did mighty, mighty works through him. Incredible things. And God, I'm thankful for the Zipporahs in our life. God, the women that can see before the men. God, may they also act to protect. May they have patience while the men wake up. God, I just ask that you would pour your Spirit out on this congregation, that you'd pour it out on us. God, I ask that you'd increase our hunger by giving us tastes that are good, that are sweet of your presence. God, we want to look like you. We want to look like our Father. And so, God, I just ask that you would help us walk in kindness, walk in grace, walk in mercy. God, that we'd have the resilience to be refined. God, that we'd have the courage to stand for those that can't stand yet on their own. And that we would protect, that we would provide, that we'd redeem, that we'd restore, but that we'd also be quick to let you have the vengeance, that we'd be quick to offer mercy, that we'd be quick to offer grace. God, please give us eyes to see that we're sons and daughters and not slaves to sin. And God, if we're not there yet, God, I ask that you would give us a warm invitation that draws us into that kind of relationship with you. God, any paradigm that is not that, I ask that you would just smash. God, I ask that you would bring this congregation freedom. Out of this congregation, you'd give freedom to the UP and to the ends of the earth. God, I ask that you would fill us with your hope and you'd fill us with your joy. In your name.
Sing, you unravel me, you unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name, and I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. We'll sing this new one again. Let's get it in our minds. And I wanna sing till my heart starts changing. Well, I'm gonna worship till I mean every word. 'Cause the way that I feel and the fear that I'm facing doesn't change who you are or what you deserve. I give you my worship, you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. Worthy of my song. Hey. And I'm gonna live like my King is risen. Gonna preach to my soul that you've already won. Even though I can't see it, I'm gonna keep believing. Every promise you make is as good as done. Oh, I give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises, a blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. Sing, I'll give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy, Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy, Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy, Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy. And when I cried out in the night, you were worthy. When I could not see the light, you were worthy. Though my faith is not yet sight, you're still worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. And in the blessing, in the pain, you are worthy. Whether you say yes or no, wait, you are worthy. And through it all, I choose to say, you are worthy. I'll never stop singing your praise. I'll never stop singing your praise. never stop singing your praise. And I give you my worship, and you still deserve it. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. I'll pour out your praises in blessing and breaking. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy, Jesus, you're worthy of my song. You're worthy, you're worthy.
Here, anybody that's new, oh, sorry. Anybody that's new that wants to meet with me up here, 5 minutes, go ahead, grab some coffee. There's also sign-up sheets, including taco soup stuff. If you guys want to write down something there, that's awesome.
Let's lift up his name, holy. We sing holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Holy. You are holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you.
Until I rise like the morning, wake up in the arms of glory, to finally see the sun above the pouring rain. Until I fall into surrenders, healing hands, and remember there's a river on the other side of pain. I'm gonna rejoice, rejoice, lifted up in the highs and lows. There's a better day coming, I know. Rejoice,
If I didn't know what it hurt like to be broken, then how would I know what it feels like to be whole? If I didn't know what it cuts like to be rejected, then I wouldn't know the joy of coming home. Maybe it's okay if I'm not okay, 'cause the one who holds the world is holding on to me. Maybe it's alright if I'm not alright, 'cause the one who holds the stars is holding my whole life. If I didn't know what it looked like to be dirty, then I wouldn't know what it feels like to be clean. And if all of my shame hadn't drove me to hide in the shadows, then I wouldn't know the beauty of being free. Maybe it's okay if I'm not okay, 'cause the one who holds the world is holding on to me. Maybe it's alright if I'm not alright, 'cause the one who holds the stars is holding my whole life. Father, let your kingdom come. Let your will be done here in my heart as in heaven. Father, let your kingdom come. Let your will be done here in my heart as in heaven. Maybe it's okay if I'm not okay, 'cause the one who holds the world is holding on to me. Maybe it's alright if I'm not alright, 'cause the one who holds the stars is holding my whole life. Now I'm alive in you, boasting at the saints. And now I'm alive and I can see you in everything. Maybe it's okay if I'm not okay.
For every sickness, you're the healing hand. For every prisoner, you're deliverance. Yeah. For every lost soul, you're the promised land. Our breakthrough, you're our breakthrough. Out of the ashes, you make beautiful. Yeah. When there is no way, you're the miracle. And only you do the impossible. Our breakthrough, you're our breakthrough. 'Cause every mountain moves with a word from you, and they surrender to your glory and majesty. Wind and waves obey the power of your name. And Jesus, we proclaim your glory and majesty. Yeah, yes, your majesty. Out of the ashes you make beautiful. When there is no way, you're the miracle. Yeah. And only you do the impossible. Our breakthrough, you're our breakthrough. your spirit would move in me, that your presence would burn me deep. I've encountered the Spirit, felt the love of the Father, found my life in the Savior, and it changed me forever. And I've encountered the goodness, felt the truth in the power. Oh, I've been saved by Jesus, and I will praise Him forever. My heart to you I'll bring, my hope it holds on the sea, that your spirit would move in me, that your presence would burn me deep. I've encountered the Spirit, felt the love of the Father, found my life in the Savior, and it changed me forever. And I've encountered the goodness, felt the truth in the power. Oh, I've been saved by Jesus, and I will praise Him forever. Formed against me shall prosper. Lord, just lead me. Your goodness, your mercy, they will follow. Lord, just lead me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Lord, just lead me. In your goodness, your mercy, they will follow. Lord, just lead me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Lord, just lead me. In your goodness, your mercy, they will follow. Lord, just lead. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Lord, just lead me. In your goodness, your mercy, they will follow. Lord, just lead. It's not a prayer I've prayed you haven't heard, not a tear I've shed that you didn't feel. You're the God who comes to raise the dead. I know you'll raise me up again. I know you'll raise me up again. For who can praise you from the grave? I doubt I see the life you gave, just to see the life you gave. And every fear in me you've put to rest. It's the song I bring rush, where my heart starts beating for the rhythms of the testing and the songs of the trials. I will lift a cry up to you, sung with hope inside my eyes. Sink or swim, I'm diving into the passion of your heart where love starts. I lift my hands if my hands fail me. I'll bend my knees if my knees grow weak. I'll raise my voice and I'll sing, I'll sing. I know that you love me. I'll lift my hands if my hands fail me. I'll bend my knees if my knees grow weak. I'll raise my voice and I'll sing, I'll sing. I know that you love me. So give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing, and I will sing it. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing, and I will sing it to you, God. I will sing it to you, God. I will sing it. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing, and I will sing it. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing. Give me a song to sing, and I will sing it to you, God. I will sing it to you, God. I will sing
Here we go again, my mind racing, and I can't seem to win. All these crazy thoughts and feelings, it's like it never ends until your voice breaks through my noise. I know I'm not alone, not alone. You will fight my battles if I would just be still. Why would I keep running when you're right here? I'll just be quiet and let you speak through the silence. Here I am, no more hiding. You are in this moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet. I don't need to know what comes next. Tomorrow's in your hands, I can trust you with my future, 'cause you're already there. I hear your voice call me forward, and I know I'm not alone, not alone. Away with the distractions, I wanna hear what's true. The only words that matter, they come from you. I'll just be quiet and let you speak through the silence. Here I am, no more hiding. You are in this moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet, I'll just be quiet.
I saw mercy, mercy seated where the judge should be, was guilty, guilty and getting out of jail free. I